Welcome to Express Drives, and today we have something very special because we have an old icon in a brand new form. This is the brand new Tata Safari. It has been missing from the SUV fight in a while, but look, the 1990s just showed up.
जानी, ये सफारी नहीं, ये कुछ और है। सफारी की सवारी होती है जानदार, दमदार, शानदार।
अब नई सफारी तो ये है।
ये सफारी नहीं, ये हैरियर है। एक दो ज्यादा लोगों का कैरियर है।
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
It just is.
It isn't. Alright, now jokes apart, Rahul, tell me one thing. The Safari has always been a brand that was known to have a brute, a muscular design. It used to be a ladder frame vehicle, and of course, that was what the Safari was, a brute force. This one doesn't look like it.
Well, there are new definitions of things in this modern world because just brute force is not appealing. You need to show a bit of sophistication, intelligence, and that is where the new Safari gets modern.
Well, right, but then again, as an onlooker, to me, this is just a larger Harrier.
That might be your opinion, but you couldn't be more far from the truth.
Why is that?
Well, because it is longer, it is slightly taller, and it is something that drives just as well as the Harrier, is what it's being claimed to be. And it looks a touch more premium.
Well, right, but still, I mean, what's so different from the Harrier in this? Like I said, my point is it still looks like a bigger Harrier. But what's specifically different in this from the Harrier?
Well, for starters, you get a little more premium and a more chrome-studded front grille. Other than that, at the front, there's not much of a difference, but when you come to the sides, you have now newer, bigger 18-inch alloy wheels. But more importantly, the Safari trademark, which is the stepped roof, which you can see on that, is also present on this.
Alright, yeah, well, of course, that trait has been carried forward. No doubt, it is a good-looking vehicle. I mean, most vehicles recently from Tata Motors stable have been good-looking. We have had complaints in other areas, which would be features, interior, the powertrain, but design has been really nice. Same is the case with this. That said, it might be a good-looking vehicle. My point, it still is not the Safari.
But if you have the same opinion as Arpit, if you don't think that this is the Safari, it doesn't look like the Safari, it is not the Safari, let us know what you think in the comment section below. But let's take a look inside and tell you what's actually modern and new about the Safari.
Now, as Rahul said, we must inspect the interior. So now we are inside the so-called Safari. What's new? It's again the Harrier.
Well, Mr. 1990s, here, how many screens do you see that you do not get in the old Safari? There are two giant screens, an 8.8-inch touchscreen, which is the infotainment system that allows you so many other functions. You have a MID display, which is also a digital 7-inch touchscreen. It's not a touchscreen, it's a normal screen, of course. And you get a more premium and intelligent interior cabin. So it feels nice to the touch. The build quality is very good. And okay, there are a few ergonomic issues which we'll get to in a moment, but it's a nice place to be. Tell me, is it not a nicer place to be rather than the old car?
Well, I have to give you that. It looks like a good, modern and a well-built cabin. Well, of course, I can't find any flaws here. That said, the screen, I mean, especially the way you say it's 8 inches plus, but I think the ratio isn't right. It's too slim and it's too long, and I think probably this is something that Tata could have improved in the Safari versus the Harrier. So that remains as a scope for improvement for me. But yes, that said, yeah, it is a thoroughly modern cabin. I'll give you that.
For sure. Other important features here that we get is an electronic parking brake, although there could have been a little red light to let us know that it's on or off, but that's not there, but you can also see it on your MID. There's an auto hold function as well.
So that means that the old aircraft style, the handbrake you had, the odd aircraft style handbrake, that's pretty much gone except for the base variant.
Yeah, the lower spec models do not get the auto hold and the electronic handbrake,
Yep.
but I'm glad that it's gone as well. Other gripes that I do have is that this cubby hole for placing a smartphone is like putting a phone into oblivion. You can never really access it very easily. That is an ergonomic issue.
Yeah, I think you'll need to take your eyes off the road,
Yeah.
which isn't particularly a good thing.
Yes. Additionally, when you're using Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, because of the way the touchscreen has been laid out, it comes in a small, narrow look, and that is like very 1990s, to be honest, very old.
So the 8.8-inch screen, the so-called 8 inches screen, goes from 8 to what, a 5-inch?
Yes, unfortunately. Also, the touch response from the screen could have been better. I feel that maybe a faster processor could fix that. Also, this steering, although people love chunky steering, this may be a little too chunky in my opinion, because when you hold it, you don't get a nice, firm, confident, inspiring grip in my opinion. It's a little too chunky in the middle. So you're driving like this instead of like this. So I'm not very happy about that. That could have been designed a little more intelligently in my opinion. And one last thing, while though there is a giant panoramic sunroof, which that old 1990s Safari does not get.
Yeah, I mean, sunroofs weren't a thing that time.
Yes. The problem with this one is, although it's nice and wide and bright in the cabin, there are 3 buttons to function one aspect of the car, which I do not understand.
Yeah, that's pretty confusing. I mean, it makes no
And
sense.
when when you're driving, you want to know one button, you can feel it, and you're not taking your eyes off the road. Here you're like to look at which button is doing what, and that's taking valuable time of the driver from there.
And that means, once again, you'll need to take your eyes off the road to probably operate this huge sunroof. Now, a similar thing I see again here as well is the fact that your eco and sport mode buttons are here. I mean, it's on the dash, but if you want to engage the city mode or the wet mode or the rough road mode, the selector is here. I mean, why do you have controls littered all around the place when you can have them at one place? Didn't Tata Motor guys really sit and plan it out?
Maybe they need to go back on the drawing board on that.
Yep.
But other than that, let's take a look at the rear, where we were talking about where the Safari is brand new from the Harrier.
But before that, tell me one thing.
Yes.
Talking of this, isn't this pretty much a joke? Because the Safari has always been a vehicle that was offered with a 4x4 system as an option.
Yes.
This one doesn't have it.
You tell me, how many people actually drive off-road these days with their SUVs? Pretty much a very minute section of society actually
But
takes it
that's
off-road.
what the Safari was all about. That's what the brand was all about.
But we need to progress further. So Tata has done, for people enthusiasts who like to take their cars a little bit off-road trail driving, you have a little wet and rough road driving modes for off-road driving as well. They usually just tailor the throttle response in the engine mode, and that's pretty much it.
Having a rough road mode or an off-road mode in a two-wheel drive car is like putting a gunman in a small Cessna passenger plane and calling it a fighter plane. It does not work out. It is just a marketing gimmick. Doesn't equate to anything.
That's true. But let's look at the back first, please.
Let's
That's where
head back
it all shines.
and find out how better is the so-called Safari. Now, before we head to the middle row of the so-called new Safari, let me show you first how much space the old Safari had. Now, here I am in the old Safari and Safari Storme, to be precise. With the driver seat adjusted to my preference, you can see I have a lot of space. The Safari was always known for space, a lot of headroom. The seat is really comfortable. So there's a lot that the new Safari needs to do. These are big shoes to fill in. So let's check if it can or not. Alright, so as you said, now we are in the middle row, and I quite like the fact that this one comes with captain seats.
While the 6-seater Safari is actually an option for the top trim, As standard, you get a bench seat, the same as the Harrier, in this car.
Also in terms of space, I think this Harrier slash Gravitas slash so-called Safari is pretty good because Rahul has his seat pushed all the way back and the co-passenger seat also pushed all the way back, and still he has a decent amount of knee room. In my case also, I have my seat pushed all the way forward and to my driving preference, the driving seat, and I still have a decent amount of knee room. There is good leg room, there is a lot of headroom. That is really a good thing. And the seats themselves, well, the seats, I have no complaints. The cushioning is spot on, the side support, the shoulder support, everything is good. Do you have any other good or bad points to report?
Well, firstly, you get a brand new white seat upholstery and interior and door pads, which gives it a little more airy looking cabin. That also gives you that impression that it's a more wide open cabin. Next is that you get these premium JBL speakers, and you get about 8 and 9 set of speakers from JBL in the higher spec models. You have a couple of USB ports way hidden down here, which is like a little cubby hole, and you're probably never gonna see it unless you happen to touch it.
Yeah, I mean,
Good luck
try
finding those.
Yeah, good luck, because till you do this, you can't really figure out how to get the USB in. So that continues to be an ergonomic sore ever from the Harrier.
Also, another neat feature that you have in the Safari that you do not have in many other SUVs or even the Harrier for matter of fact is boss mode. I can shove the front passenger into the dashboard like a peasant, and I can sit in more comfortably if I wanted to.
That's a nice feature to have, especially for people who at times want to be chauffeur driven. So yes,
Exactly.
I think as a family vehicle, as a chauffeur driven vehicle, it doubles up. It's a versatile vehicle. So yes, full marks on that front.
Now, the big difference in the Safari is that it comes with 2 additional seats at the back in the third row.
Well, third row, yes, but as most people, most of our viewers would also know that third row in pretty much all SUVs, especially in this price bracket, is pretty useless. So what's the point? You can probably just have kids sitting there.
Oh, contraire. Let's check them out.
Now, like I told Rahul earlier, the last row in most SUVs are pretty much useless, and in the case of Safari, I was completely wrong. Well, surprisingly, this last row in Safari is quite nice, and I did not expect the seat here to be this nice. I mean, in terms of space, well, there is a good amount of knee room. Of course, it's the last row, so you do not have under thigh support because you sit with your knees up in the air, but it's not as bad as many other SUVs in this price bracket, or probably even 20-30 lakh more have it. It's better than many expensive SUVs. And you also have 2 USB charging slots here. You have the AC fan blower controls here, cup holders. There is space for putting in a water bottle. And if you look at headroom, well, again, even at the last row, headroom isn't scarce at all. So yes, you can have adults sitting in the third row of the Safari with relative comfort for a couple of hours, and people will not have reasons to complain. So this, I think, is one of the key takeaways. It has good and usable third row. Now, Rahul has been throwing the word modern a lot, and he's been telling me that this Safari is a lot more modern than the older one. Of course it is, because they are separated by years. But now, since you say this is so modern, let me show you some bits which prove otherwise. Now, for example, take the tailgate. I've opened it, but it does not rise on its own, and there's no place to really get a grip on. So you have to manually lift it to the point where it starts to lift. Is that modern?
Okay, I'll give you that. But you can open that to a massive boot, can't you?
Yes, that's a good thing. And flexible seating, you can fold down the seats, you can fold one of them up, 2 of the seats, the middle and the back. There's a lot you can do. So yes, in terms of space and flexibility, there's a lot. But the tailgate, the opening mechanism could have been better. Now, one more area where your so-called modern Safari isn't really modern is how its hood opens. Now, we already have it unhooked, so just open and show me what you've got. So he needs to lift the hood and put this so-called danda to support the hood, right? And this is the new Safari. Now let me show you what the old Safari had up its sleeve. Well, hydraulics baby in the old Safari Storme. No danda.
Shh, listen. 1990s quality for you.
Alright, now Rahul, we have driven both the variants now. We've been driving them for a while. The manual first. The white car that you've been seeing, well, that was the manual variant, the one that we are driving right now. This one, well, this is the automatic. And having driven both, I must admit, I mean, this is a pretty nice vehicle to drive.
Yeah, it's a fairly comfortable car to drive. It comes with the same engine as before, as the Harrier that we've known. The same engine borrowed from the Compass actually. It's a Fiat sourced motor, and this automatic is the 6-speed which we also saw in the Harrier, which is also borrowed from Hyundai, to be honest.
So yeah, the manual gearbox again, the manual gearbox in this one is a Fiat sourced one.
Again, so a lot of borrowed parts from FCA and Hyundai parts bins, of course. And that's not a bad thing because it helps the Safari drive fairly well, and it's been engineered very in a manner that it's very robust. It feels very comfortable to drive. It's smooth on the uptake. It's got drive modes like we mentioned before in the video. You have city, you have eco and sport, and all three of them behave differently. You can feel that the throttle response from all three modes are different.
True, and it's very refined as well. I mean, the NVH installation, I think Tata's done a good job at it. It feels so much more refined to drive when you compare it to the older Safari, the Safari Storme that I've been driving. Well, this feels like a different world altogether. So yes, I mean, great to drive. I think even the handling is quite nice. I was able to throw the Safari around some corners hard, and it doesn't complain much. It's got decent grip. There is a bit of body roll, but that is pretty much expected. And I think ride quality is quite nice. I mean, Safari has always been known for great ride quality and comfort, and this does not break that tradition. It continues, and this offers very good ride quality, which will keep all occupants happy.
Yes, exactly, and that ride quality is dependent on the platform that it's based on. It's a D8 platform which has been modified for this car and the Harrier as well. It's the old Land Rover platform, of course. So it has the innate natures of that architecture was very commendable for what it was able to do.
Yep.
So the innate nature of the D8 architecture from the Land Rover platform, it's still there, of course, and that is what gives it that plush cabin, the plush behavior on the road. It drives so well because it's pretty much down to that architecture.
Absolutely. I mean, yes. So yes, it drives well. The ride quality is great. Handling is great. Highway manners are very nice. I mean, even when you're on highway, and it's got decent power. It's got enough pull. So when you want to quickly overtake one of those bigger trucks or the container trucks, you can easily do that. Doesn't fall short. The brakes are good. The steering is quite nice. I think the steering is a little bit different from what the Harrier is, and I like the calibration of the steering a lot better than the Harrier. So I think, yeah, I mean, as far as driving is concerned, I think again it's a big positive, but, and it's a big but, the Safari that I've been driving and the older Safaris always had a 4x4, like I've been saying. They could go off-road. This one can't. This is basically a soft-roader. It looks like an SUV, but it's not a true SUV, and that's why I continue to say it's not a Safari.
Well, to be honest, every other car in this price bracket is also pretty much the same because they're not off-roaders, they're all soft-roaders. Underneath, they're little hatchbacks or like other platforms that have been made to look like SUVs, and people buy them.
Yep.
So And that's mostly because people are moving away from that old thought of an SUV needs to be on a ladder platform. Also, again, it's the D8 architecture. You could take this off-road. The only problem is without that four-wheel drive, there'll be some capabilities that this will not have, of course, against a four-wheel drive car. But the only other car in this segment that is a four-wheel drive is the Jeep Compass.
Yeah.
Maybe the Safari will bring a four-wheel drive as well. Maybe the Scorpio will bring a four-wheel drive the next gen when it comes. And that also anyway is made on order. That's not a production car anyway.
Precisely. So yes, overall I think as far as driving experience is concerned, we both agree that the Safari scores top marks.
So Arpit, can you admit that this is a very impressive vehicle to drive?
Well, yes, it of course is an impressive package. Looks great for sure. I mean, it has a nice looking interior, very spacious. It has surprisingly good third row of seat. I mean, it's a usable third row, so that's a really good advantage. I give that to this vehicle. Good set of features, a panoramic sunroof, drives well too, has both automatic and manual. So yes, pretty impressive. But what about the price?
The price isn't out yet, but that is what is going to be key for the Safari, because that Tata must get right. It has to be priced competitively, because you have competitors like the Jeep Compass, which is going to come in with the 7-seat model. There's going to be the new Mahendra XUV 500 that's going to come, and you also have the MG Hector Plus, which is also doing very well in numbers. So pricing this is going to be key for Tata.
Yeah, that's right. And like Rahul said, if they can price this competitively, and coupled with that, if you bring in the legacy that the Safari nameplate has, there's no reason why this won't sell a lot. So yes, I agree on all those things, but the one thing I still don't agree with is the fact that all that the Safari used to be known for, which we have discussed, well, this isn't that. For me, this isn't the Safari as good as a vehicle it might be.
Yes, it is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
Yes, it is.
It is not.
It just is.
It isn't.